6 months ago, if you had told me I'd be riding countless miles, climbing brutal elevations, racing, and embracing a sport my dad once introduced me, a sport I used to hate, I would say you were crazy. But here we are. What began as rehab turned into a relentless pursuit, an addiction to growth, a call for challenge, and a hunger for new goals. Today we ride with purpose. We climb with meaning. We endure pain to honor the fallen. 200 miles in one day, a double century on Memorial Day. For them, always for them. This is the Pena Project. It is 4 in the morning and getting everything ready here so we can head out. Get some food in, waiting for the guys, and we are out. Let's get these 200 miles out. Alright, we made it to Santa Ana. So far we're alive. It's actually not bad. Alright, so we are now crossing into the Santa Ana River. This was not a bad start to this ride. Everything was going great. The weather was perfect. A little bit of a drizzle, a little bit of water, nothing crazy, but overall the weather was great. As you can see, I wasn't wearing a long sleeve. I really wanted to minimize the amount of clothing I wanted to have with me. That way I didn't have so much stuff to stack afterwards. And it was going great. This was a great start. Like I said, weather was perfect. Everything was going good. We're doing good timing. Had a quick little pit stop here. Juan had to, use the bathroom real quick. Knocked that out of the way, and we kept strolling. And from here on, it was a pretty chill ride all the way to Corona, which was something we can't complain about, aside of all the mosquitoes that I ate on this route here. By the way, I don't know what is up with this route, but even my shoes were covered with bugs and items like that. I did see some riders with a full face mask covering their face and mouth from whatever might be flying and lingering into any hole you do not want it to go into. So I have to say, if you're coming through this route here, be prepared.
15% grade. This thing is long and crazy. Let's go. Mind over matter. Feel good though. Let's go, Juan. We're past halfway.
Well, the truth is, we are not even close to halfway. As you can see, this is a 5.8 mile climb with a max 19.4% grade. And what felt like eternity definitely was a good way to wake up the legs on this journey. And we're about only 28 miles in and en route to our first pit stop, where we are going to meet Josh, who's going to jump on board, ride with us, and this felt good to finish that crazy climb.
Here we are at mile 35, and look who stopped by, man. My boy, Surf Together in Kuwait, owner of Latino Solutions Credit Repair.
I didn't bring it for that, bro. It's about, Memorial Day. We got to wake up, be, grateful, to live another day, and those that sacrificed, for a better tomorrow for us.
There you go, man. And he's going to help us out by letting us drive behind him all the way to Temecula, right?
I'll do it.
Let's go. Served with Santiago and the Marines in Kuwait. This guy would be balling basketball, taking people's money. That was really good. Now owns his credit repair company. Good dude, man. He's been on his journey to lose weight. So glad to see other fellow veterans jump on top of that and keep moving forward, man. That's what it's all about.
Our next stop is not going to be until 36.3 miles in Temecula, and this is going to be a quick 15-minute bathroom break. In the meantime, we are feeling strong. Everybody's regrouped. Josh just came in with fresh legs, so it was great for him to help pull. The majority of this route was pretty chill with a max grade of 6.9% in some cases. Once we started entering towards Temecula, for the majority of the part, it was a very scenic, chill ride, going through some amazing scenic landscaping all the way through Old Town Murrieta into Temecula. I would say one of my favorite parts of this route was definitely one of my favorite parts of this whole ride was this route here. Very chill, looking forward to coming back and just doing this one for fun. But team was holding up, we felt good, and overall feeling amazing.
doing Unbound. Yeah, we just did Unbound 200.
And of course, it cannot be a fun ride without some obstacles, adversities, and here we have, for some reason, the map telling us to go through a gravel slash weird road area that was blocked off. In fact, if you see those car marks into the right, that's where the map kept on telling us to turn. But as you can see, there's a big old construction site. So we had to go a couple miles up this gravel slash loose dirt section of this back end road somewhere in the back ends of Marietta, trying to get back to the correct route. Turning back to the main road was not going to be an option, as that would set us back completely. But overall, this section here pushed us back about 45 minutes. But as you do, we keep going, we attack, we figure it out, and which we did. So it is what it is. Overall, yeah, it's pretty cool. We got some gravel working.
Oh, wait. Hold on, bro. I think we're supposed to turn. Is there a street there? Is there a street there? Yeah, we're supposed to go that way. Let me see.
Is that gravel over there?
Yeah. Yep. Ooh, what if we cut through there? It's a whole gravel session.
A big key takeaway from this whole ride was the importance of nutrition and feeding, guys. I was trying to eat every 45 minutes, 30, 35, 45 minutes, to be quite honest. If it was a goo, something, carb load, I had about, I believe it was 80 grams of carb on each bottle, and I had H2O on my backpack, water bladder there. And by the way, shout out to, man, I even forgot the brand of this backpack here. It's the one that they use for Unbound, and it's a lifesaver, guys. Actually, the water stayed pretty cool throughout the whole ride, and I still had a little bit left by the time I got finished. That's because we kept topping off and, you know, fueling.
It's our second break stop. Quick water top off and then head back out.
You want to run in there real quick?
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's go.
I'm gonna eat one of these. In front of a McDonald's, but I definitely don't want McDonald's.
That's like the worst thing you could eat right now. Alright, we're back in the road. We had a little bit more than expected delay, just because bathroom situation. But back on. Technically, we're in San Diego County already. So it's a big stretch now just to the coast. Let's go.
Our next stop will not come until mile 116, a little bit shorter than what we initially planned for, which was to stop at Encinitas once we hit PCH. However, you know, all this climbing, I think the max grade on one of these was something crazy like 22%. We had to refuel, and this took us about a little over 46 miles to get back from Temecula to our endpoint, which was by the Elfin Forest entrance, entering now what was going to be the Rancho Santa Fe area or around there. So pretty intense climbing session here. Thankfully, the weather was amazing, not too crazy. The scenery was also spectacular, but definitely tested our legs.
Casey, what's up, brother? Climbing some crazy ass hill in San Diego right now. San Diego. Actually, Oceanside's only like 18 miles away from here. We just climbed the most insane, constant 7% grade climb, but it just felt never ending. That was pretty bad. And yeah, it's gonna get fun. Let's see more climbs. Good though, but this where it starts getting mental. There's a lot more climb. Easy money. I'm also getting very hungry. We are climbing again.
You're gonna be an 18% at the top, and then also a 22, a short one. Short 22.
Wait? Yeah, we should. Gotta eat.
So after a great lunch, we headed back on tracking. We didn't want to stay too much. We did about 45 minutes, which were pretty good on time. And it was pretty much a good ride. Couple hills entering Rancho Santa Fe and into the coast. However, we just knew it was very close. We could see it from afar. We wanted nothing more than just to get to PCH as soon as possible, because we knew once we got there, it was going to be just a lot more closer to home. Although we're still feeling good, that was just going to be like that one stretch that lets you know that, hey, it's just one shot up and we will be home. So the hard part we thought was over. Little did we know that the mental game was about to kick in.
We are now in Oceanside. You know what? I haven't even checked the mileage. Exit that way?
Oh, yeah, exit that way, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, gents.
So if you want to know the process of entering the military base, if you are cycling, apparently they have changed the rules. This is something I was a bit concerned about prior to this ride. So I was in the area for an appointment the day prior. I came to the base, and as a former Marine, I do have access to the base, which I was informed as long as you have 2 forms of ID, passport, real ID, social security, you will get access granted. So it was pretty simple. They saw our IDs and they let us move forward, and we went on. And shout out to this fellow Marine right here. This was sort of where your mind starts playing tricks on you. The whole base part was actually pretty dope because I got to go through areas where I was stationed at, and felt good to sort of get some flashbacks and memories of that. But this gentleman here had an e-bike, so of course I had a draft behind him, although he seemed confused, not sure what was going on. As you can see, he kept on looking back, and I did thank him later, and I said, man, all I needed was the pool, so appreciate him because there was some crazy headwind here. I did not pay attention to the back, so Josh and Juan were left pretty far behind, but we did regroup once I took a picture of my old station where I was at in Los Flores.
You go to the bathroom? Huh? It's all mental, bro. Huh? Nah, it's a mental game, dude.
What Josh did not know was I had started to dig deep too. Even though my legs felt strong and the training was kicking in, there's something about being in the saddle for this long that brings out a different kind of pain. The internal kind. The discomfort that creeps in quietly and demands everything from you. But for me, that pain is familiar. As a Marine, I faced combat, deployments, and the darkest corners of the mental game. And I learned how to push through. Still, this time was different. I wasn't riding alone. I had two individuals with me, two people who hadn't trained for this, but who believe in the cause enough to saddle up and answer the call. Something not many will do. So I had to step up, push harder, lead from the front. Because this ride isn't just to honor our fallen heroes, it's a living example of what we stand for. We never leave anyone behind, and we finish every mission together. So we kept pushing, and although fighting the demons of the mental game, there was no way I was gonna finish this ride without these two. 6 months ago, if you had told me I'd be riding bikes, wearing tight spandex, waking up before sunrise, climbing mountains on 2 wheels, and in the best shape of my life, I would have laughed and told you you're crazy. But here I am. Cycling started as rehab, just a way to move, to recover. But something shifted. It became therapy, then a obsession. And now it's become a sacred space, a place where I reconnect with my father. He introduced me to the bike, hated it back then, but now it's how I hear him, how I feel close to him. It's where I ask the hard questions life throws at me, and sometimes I get answers. Through this journey, I learned how to live, not just to exist, not just hustle, but to truly live. To slow down and notice what matters. I used to think success was about business wins, balling out, partying, flexing, and showing the world I made it. But the truth, that was noise. It was a mask. One thing my dad always said stuck with me was learn to do you and forget what people think. Life gets better that way. It took years for me to understand that. It took failure, it took losing myself, it took sobriety. But now I see it. Now I feel it. And I'm finally proud of the man I've become, of the life I'm living, of the family I hold close, and the tribe I ride with. This ride today, it wasn't just about miles. It was a test of grit, friendship, brotherhood, and of purpose. Because when you're suffering on the climb and your mind tells you to quit, you remember why you started. You remember who you're riding for, and you remember that we never leave anyone behind. Today we finish something hard. Tomorrow we take on something harder. And together, we keep riding, we keep living, and we keep leading.